this quietly and succinctly. All right. And welcome back to my channel. So today I'm back at it with another organizational video. In fact, it's probably less of an organizational video and more of a tour video. About a year ago, I want to say, I did an organizational video of my mum's fridge back when we were living in her house. It was a really difficult video to do. There were 9 people living in the house at the time. It was just a nightmare in terms of fitting everything, and I had to be very strategic about the way that I organized it to be able to fit everybody's needs. Also, those fridges were just not great. They're not ideal in terms of the width of the fridge. It's really nice when you do a lot of entertaining to be able to pre-prepare all of your platters and things like that and pop them in the fridge. When you've got a really slimline fridge, that's not really a possibility. This time around, we really wanted to go for a wide fridge, and when I asked you guys for fridge suggestions, the vast majority of you, particularly the ones that have kids as well, were like, you need to get a French door fridge. And that was really where, like, the direction I was leaning in. There were a few models that I were looking at, and fridges, they're a tough one because they can range from like $600 to like $6,000 or $10,000. Like, they can get so expensive. So you can really spend as much or as little as you want. This one, I think it retails for about $1,899. It's the 620 litre fridge by Hisense, and I think this is quite a popular model because it does have quite a lot of features, especially for families that need to have a lot of space, but it's also on the lower end of the price spectrum, so that's quite attractive. And I've actually seen these fridges out for a lot cheaper. Like, if you shop around, you can generally get a really good deal on them. So I've been really happy with it so far. We've had it for about 5 months now, and it's been awesome. So I highly recommend. At the front here, it does have the water filter, which was a must for us because we really wanted the kids to be able to get themselves water very easily. They like to drink a lot of water, which is never a bad thing. You want them to be nice and hydrated. So this just makes it really easy for them. And then you've got your touchscreen controls to adjust like your temperatures and everything like that on the front. There's also a lock to stop the water from coming out. So if the kids are just being silly or not using the water correctly, you can lock it off. Okay, so as we open up, I'm gonna start with this side over here. So at the top, we have our top balcony. It's got a lid on the top, and I've used this to put eggs in it. So I like that they're up the top and out of reach. The little container up the top sits 14 eggs in it, and we actually also got another, where is it? We actually got another carton with the fridge that was just sitting in one of the drawers. So if for whatever reason you have a huge surplus in eggs that week or that month, you can always go and put a few more eggs in there. Moving down, we have this container, which tripped me out just a little bit. When we got the fridge, we wanted it, obviously, like I said, for the fact that it has a tap in it. And we actually had plumbing put in the back of our fridge for the purpose of having a fridge that had a water dispenser. I was completely unaware until we actually got the fridge that this water dispenser here pops out of the fridge. You fill it up with your tap and then click it back in, or you can just take the little lid off the top and fill it up directly from the fridge. And this packs, I think, about 4 liters or maybe a little bit more. So it's a good size, and it means that you don't require plumbing for the fridge to actually have that tap function. Moving on down, we have 4 water bottles that the kids like to drink out of. Once again, this is about staying hydrated, but more so if we're running out of the house and going to the park or whatever, they can just grab a water bottle. If you guys have been following for a while, you know that I tend to color code my kids way more than I should, and they're probably gonna grow up messed up over it, I'm sure. But Heidi's is the pinky purple one, Louis is the green one, Archie's is the blue one, and then we've got a spare one in there as well, just in case. And then moving down to the bottom balcony down here, this is where I had trouble, you guys. Okay, there is nothing special about the way that I organized this, and it is killing me. I had an idea in my head where I wanted to go out and get like a bathroom set, you know, where you have your pump dispenser and then you have like a cup with a lid in your bathroom. I wanted to get a square shaped clear acrylic set, and I wanted to repot all of my jams in the clear acrylic square ones with the lids, and then write in really cute lettering across each of the containers what was inside and obviously the expiry date. But I do acknowledge that that is not something that you can keep up. When I go and have a look on Pinterest and I see all of the beautifully organized fridges, there's so many that look awesome, but they're not practical. There was one picture in particular where it looked so awesome, like they'd reduced all of their plastics by wrapping things in like tea towels and brown paper packaging, and it looked so good. But it wasn't practical because you couldn't see what was inside. And what's more is that everything was stacked in front of each other. So it's easy for everything to get lost behind each other when you're doing that. And that's how things get wasted. And if anything, I am not a waster. I absolutely hate wasting food. And so I try and do my fridge organization videos, or I try and organize my pantries around everything being visible so nothing gets wasted. And I also wanted to make the videos practical in terms of upkeep. It's all well and good saying, oh, repot all of your jams, but when you're in a hurry and you just need to put your groceries away, who's gonna sit there and repot every single one of their jams? You know what I mean? Like, I possibly would, and I probably will, but it's not something that the vast majority of people are going to want to do. Moving forward, we have the top shelf. Once again, nothing exciting. Up the top, we just have our little green teas. Then up the top, I also have a packet of mints. This is just going to be the mints that we're going to use today. So generally when we do a grocery shop, we freeze all of our meat, and then we'll just get out in the morning whatever meat we're going to use for that day and pop it in the fridge to defrost. So that's sitting there ready for tonight. Then at the top, I also have the kids' school lunch boxes. Heidi and Archie, that's not done up properly, ready for them to take to school tomorrow. And then up the top, I have a container here that says, in cursive writing, dairy. Now, this text that I've done on here, you'll notice it's different to all of the other text I've written across all of our containers in the fridge. And the reason why I did this is because I wanted you guys to see how I've labeled it this time around. In the past, if you watch my previous like fridge and pantry organization videos, you'll know that I bought the crystal clear plastic labels. So those you can print directly on, and I've just gone and picked a pretty font and printed out all the labels for every item in my fridge, whacked it on, it looks really good. If you don't have a printer at home, or you don't feel like you have enough time, what I do recommend is a chalkboard marker. The reason why people go out and spend an absolute fortune on buying fridge and pantry labels, which I never recommend because they are so expensive, is because generally fonts look better than your own handwriting, and people like to see that cohesiveness in a pantry or a fridge. What I actually did was took my phone, went to any old font website. A lot of those fonts you actually have to buy, but if you go in and type in whatever item that you want, it'll show you a sample of that font written. Take a screenshot on your phone, open it up in photos, stretch it out to whatever size you want. If you place your phone on the back of the container, so inside the container, you can use the pen to trace the font that you like. And yes, that is a very time-consuming way of doing it, but also it saves you a lot of money, and it's actually a lot quicker than going on a computer and finding the font and then printing it off and then putting it on a label. And it's easier in terms of keeping your use by dates in check. So I just have gone ahead, you'll see on some of the other packaging in the fridge that I've just gone through with my pen and written the use by date. I have tried doing this with a Sharpie before, and that's a great way of doing it, but it does mean that you'll have to take some soap to actually get it off. Chalkboard markers are so much easier in terms of just wiping it clean. Like, it literally just comes off with the wipe of a cloth. Moving on down. This shelf here is our food prep shelf. So these ones on these side are probably going to be James's, and what I usually do like to do when I cook a large family meal is divvy it up at the end and pop it into sort of lunch size containers. I'll get these out. These are the 0.6 litre, so 600 ml or 20 fluid ounce containers by IKEA 365. I think it was about $3.50 for this size container. They're extremely affordable and a great size for food. So I generally just pack a whole lot of leftovers into these containers and have them ready to roll when James goes to work the next day. And then on the other side here, I'm going to be doing my meal planning. So I'll write on the front of each container what is inside it, what day it was cooked, and that will be my meal plans for the next 3 days. The good thing about these containers though is that if you wanted to meal plan for more than 3 days ahead, like if you wanted to do for the whole week, there's enough space on these shelves that you could push the containers all the way back and have another row of containers sitting in the front. So you can fit a lot in terms of meal planning. And even though I said before, I don't like to stack things one in front of the other, when you're doing things like meal planning and you know that you're gonna eat that item like the very next day, it's, you know, it's a little more acceptable. I don't mind doing it when you're doing meal planning. I have always said that I love using IKEA in my videos because not only is it really affordable, but they're great quality products and rarely do they go out of stock. So I find that, you know, we've got people from Australia, we've got people from the US, we've got people from the UK watching these videos. If you like something you see in one of them, then you know that you can go out to your local IKEA and get it. Stop beeping. So that's why I do choose to buy from IKEA. I really like their stuff, and I also have bought some of my containers today from Kmart because I really like that store as well. Having said that, a lot of the things that I have bought from Kmart you can just buy at any other store, so bear that in mind. Moving back to the video, as you can see, I've got my 2 rows here of meal planning for James and myself. I only did all of this yesterday, which is why there are no meal plans in there as of yet, but that is my next task today, to do a little bit of cooking. And then here I've just got some salad items, which we use pretty regularly when we're making a salad in the morning or I'm making the kids lunches, school lunches. So down the bottom, we've just got carrots. I didn't really need to label that, that's pretty obvious. The next one up, I've got my ginger and garlic. And then in the top one, I've got my tomatoes. And then over here, I've got some mushrooms and some spinach leaves in the larger container. And the reason why I've separated everything so much is because I find that when fruits and vegetables start to perspire and all of those juices run down into the bottom of like your crisper drawers, down here, you get like that yucky sticky residue. You get all of the like skins that peel off from your onions and from your garlics, and it just creates this yucky mess down the bottom that your vegetables and your fruits are then sitting in, which makes them go off a lot faster. So by moving them into their own containers, you're just protecting them a little bit from the perspiration. So I was trying to see if I could find like drainer by the rolls, and when I say that, I mean like something that I could cut up into my own individual container sizes and put in the bottom that's going to keep the fruit or vegetables a little bit up off the base, and any condensation or juices that come down are going to be sitting away from the fruit and vegetables. One thing that I did think of is IKEA have these drawer dividers that are sort of, you can cut up just to give a little bit of lift, and I could probably still do that. I think they're about $3 a pack. Like, they're so cheap. That would come in handy in terms of keeping those fruit and vegetables fresh a little bit longer, particularly when it comes to things like your spinach leaves, which I hate it when I have a bag of spinach leaves or a container of spinach leaves and they do get all that green juice down the bottom, and it just wrecks the whole batch, I don't know what you call a bunch of leaves. A bunch. This container that I do have it in, they had the larger container, which is this size, a medium container, and then a smaller container that was on the inside, and they have just been so good over the years. They were about $14 for the whole set, and what's good about them, and the 365 containers by the way, is that they can go from the freezer to, so if you wanted to make a meal that was like a raw meal, put it in the freezer, then you can take it out, you can put it in the microwave to defrost, take the lid off because it's plastic, and then put it in the oven, cook it, then put it back in the fridge again. Like, they can go from fridge to freezer to fridge to oven. They're so good like that. Okay, so moving on forward, because I know this video is getting so long, you guys, are my vegetable containers. These are the handled baskets from Kmart. I think they're about $5 or $7 each, so they're a good price, and they're that clear plastic polycarbonate, which I love because it makes everything look all cohesive and you can see exactly what's inside. I have shoved a lot more into this particular container. So this is one where having a drainer in the bottom would really come in handy. But I do love the fact that you can really see what's inside, and when something does start to near its expiration date, you can see very clearly that it needs to come out. Over here, I've got a container that has citrus It's pretty obvious that this is a citrus container, but when James goes and does the groceries, or the kids get old enough that they want to go into the fridge and grab things or put things away, then they can see very clearly where things go, and it makes it a lot harder for your fridge to become unruly, if that makes sense. And then of course over here, just neaten those up, we've got bananas and apples, which is something we use a lot more for the school lunches, whereas citrus is more something we use for drinks. Moving on down to our crisper drawers. So we've got a moisture control for each drawer here, which once again helps in terms of making your fruits and vegetables last longer. And then when I open the drawers, you can see we've got Kmart containers, and they were really, really affordable as well. They're that clear polycarbonate plastic. Again, the first one I've used is for my broccoli, and I also intended to have cauliflower in here. I thought we already had some in the fridge, but it must have gotten thrown out. So I've just put that in the medium and wide container. Then off to the side, we've got some red onions. And then off to the back here, I've just got 2 halves of butternut pumpkin, and then I've got 2 more onions in there. And what I love about having them in actual containers as opposed to like drawer dividers is the fact that if they do perspire or they do have some of that skin come off, you can just take it out and wipe it out, and it's not touching all of your other fruits and vegetables. It's not meaning that you have to pull out an entire drawer and clean it out. It just makes it way easier to maintain in terms of like neatness. Then on the other side, I have the exact same drawer setup, but I've just got my berries. So we've got the strawberries in one, grapes, and we've got 2 different colors of grapes, and then towards the back we've got blueberries and raspberries. You'll also notice that on most of my other containers I haven't used this cursive writing. The reason why I did that is because if you can get your mind past having like, you know, a proper font on each of your labels, and you don't have a problem with just using your regular old handwriting, it's 1,000 times easier to just go on with your pen and write on all of your product names. My favorite drawer of the entire fridge is the deli drawer. It's got some of my all-time favorite IKEA containers. This is the IKEA slutty. I don't even want to try and pronounce that the other way because I feel like it's a bit of a risque name for an IKEA product. You can see directly what's inside. So for things like cheese or whatever, if it's starting to look like it's a bit moldy or a little bit past its use by date, you know it's time to throw it out. You can see it very clearly. You can see, of course, on the front what the item name is and what the expiration date is, and it's a really good thin size. And that's what I love about this entire drawer, for that matter, is that it's a great size for lots of different things. Like if you've got, say, a tray of muffins or frittatas, then it's a great size for that. You could put cakes, platters, poppers, all sorts of things in this drawer because it's just so convenient. And that is another element I love about this fridge in particular, is that with all of these extra little drawers and compartments, it is a lot easier to maintain a tidy fridge. So always something to keep in mind when you are looking for a brand new fridge. One point that I do want to make, and I'm so upset about, IKEA got rid of these containers. I was doing a little bit of Googling and it looks like it's a worldwide thing that they've gotten rid of their till slutty containers. I am mad. I'm so mad, you guys, because this was something which I found to be so handy. You'll know that from previous videos, I bought the really tall versions, I bought the medium versions, and now I scrambled to a shop and managed to find a few of the shorter versions. I wish I had bought more. Having said that, I'm sure that with a good amount of Googling, you can find something very similar. But I just love these ones, you guys, and I like it when they all look the same. But as you can see, we've just got our block cheese, ham, cheese, and salami in the 4 that I have across here. And then towards the back, we've just hidden away in one of the Kmart large and narrow, I think it's called, containers. I just got secret chocolates. So if the kids have been really good or we want a little snack at the end of the day, this is where they are, but they're not very, very visible. So we know that the kids aren't going to be sneaking into the fridge and grabbing them because they can't see them. And then moving across here, we've just got some wrap ribs, which fold up and fit quite nicely towards the back of the fridge. Finally getting over to this side of the fridge. Pretty clear, butters up the top in the top container. I've written that across the front for anyone who comes along and puts new things in the fridge. We've got Nutella, we've got cooking butter, and we've got your regular spreading butter. Moving on down, my milks. This is where my chalkboard pen was not the best. So if you want to use glass containers for your beverages where they perspire a lot, chalkboard pens are not the greatest because they do tend to run. So you probably want to use a permanent marker or a label for things like these, or just not take them out of the original packaging. I think these are the 365 1 litre Carafes. If you know a plastic version, please let me know, because I really do like the look of having all my milks the same. But I'll admit that it's not always the most feasible option to be repackaging your milk all the time and putting new expiration dates on. Another thing which is not feasible, and it's just a little bit, it's another one of my first world problems, you guys, is my sauce problem. I wanted all of my sauces to look the same, and I had it stuck in my head that I wanted, I'm not going to try and explain them, I'm just going to show you guys a picture of the memo bottle. It's a water bottle that's like an A5 size and it's really slimline, but they're way expensive. They're like $30 a bottle, and I would probably need like 10, 15 to fill this entire shelf. But the thing about my sauce shelf is that it is so deep that having your sauces laid out just like that, like a slim wide bottle like that, would look so bomb for all of my sauces. The other option I did think about was my squirters. So when I was talking about squirters, when I was talking about my jams, having those in the containers from the bathroom sets that have the little lids, I wanted to have on this side the pump bottles. The only thing which stopped me from doing that was A, it makes no sense to repot all of your sauces. I get that, I admit that. And also I imagine myself at the dining table going like this onto all of everyone's dinners, and it just, that seemed weird to me. So I didn't go ahead and do that, and I'm glad that I didn't, because literally who is gonna do that? First world problems, you guys. In fact, it's not even a first world problem, it's like a 0.01% of the population problem, because that is not a problem. Moving on to the freezer. This is, again, one of my favorite parts of the whole fridge because I really like drawers. So as you open the freezer door, it's generally on this sort of mid drawer, but it actually has a drawer, a thinner drawer, that pops out over the top, and it's on smooth runners, so it's really nice to open and shut, as you can see. So in the top section here, we have our ice cube tray. I've obviously never made ice in this house. How do you open this?
From the back.
How?
Just pull it.
It's just a really basic ice maker. For those of you guys who haven't used, it's very easy to use. I don't need to show you how to do it. Anyway, moving forward, I have my till sluter containers again. This one has coffee in it, quite obviously. We keep our coffee in the freezer. I'm sure most people do, because we keep our coffee in the freezer because it lasts longer in there. So that's where you should keep your coffee beans. And then on this side, we have the same container again with some frozen fruit for smoothie making inside there. Then we just have some delicious ice cream. We've got one of these little Kmart containers. Now, once again, these are the clear polycarbonate plastic, which I love. And they were only $2 from Kmart, and they were a really great size for things like this. We've got the kids' water bottle ice packs in there at the moment, and then up towards the back behind them, we've just got the kids' lunchbox freezer packs. They're very important. Then over here, we've just got some icy poles. These are the Proud and Punch. I don't know what flavor they are, but they're very good. And then behind there, we have Gastrolite ice blocks, which are for children who have, is it diarrhea? Or the other one? It's diarrhea. They're diarrhea ice blocks, which if you're a parent, you need them. You just need them. Moving on to the next drawer, we have another thin drawer, which is the first drawer you see when you pull open the freezer. I think I'm gonna go out and get another one of these Kmart containers. It is the medium and wide container, and it's a good size just to separate all of our frozen meat. So in the center one, I have some mince. Just over the side here, we've got some salmon portions, which don't really need their own container, so they're just in a bag for now. And then I have this container, which currently has chicken in it. And the reason why I haven't taken it out of this container is because I put it in this container and it froze in that shape, so it makes no sense to take it out of that container and put it in something else now. I probably will just go and get separate containers, maybe something if I can find some more till sluter containers. Moving on, you'll see that this drawer slides on back to reveal an even deeper freezer drawer. It has this little partition in it which you can move across, so it's got a few different options. It at the moment is separating what will be our family frozen meals. This is an old IKEA 365 container. They do still sell these, and this is another one that can go like freezer, fridge, dishwasher, microwave friendly. It's even got the little vent in the top to be able to let the steam out as you're cooking. Then in these larger till sluter containers that we have, I have just chopped up some vegetables and put those in there. If you feel like your vegetables are sort of nearing the end of their use by date and you're not going to use them, chop them up and put them in the freezer and you have your own frozen veggie mix. And then in the next bin, we have an almost empty container of dumplings, because you know everybody loves dumplings. And then in the third container, which is currently empty, I am going to make something like some frittatas for the kids' school lunches and then just throw them in there. So then in the morning when I'm getting their school lunches prepared, I can just throw one of those in the lunchbox. So hashtag meal planning. As I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of the drawers, like up top, it just separates everything. And particularly with a deep freezer like this, I love the fact that it can have those thinner drawers. You're not running the risk of stacking things on top of each other and losing them. So I really like that. And I think that even though I probably could go further in terms of putting in containers and things like that to further organize it, you don't really have to because of that. So makes it nice and easy. So that wraps up the fridge tour video. As you can see, I feel like I've labeled off all of the features of the fridge, but also how I've organized everything. I was very surprised, to be honest, when I went through and put everything in its proper place, because it was so chock-a-block full before and now it looks so empty. So I feel like not only is it a lot neater looking, but it's just a whole lot easier to keep that way, if it makes sense. Like everything has a label on it, so really there's no reason why anyone should not be able to see where everything goes in the fridge, and for that reason it shouldn't really get messy. Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, hit subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye.